Jeremy Fowler, what do we need to know about George Pickens and the Dallas Cowboys?
We need to know, Peter, this could get messy because he is expected to be franchise tagged. I don't think he's going to take that lightly. He'll probably stay away from the team, won't sign the tag. He wants a long-term deal. He believes that he has proved that. Now, Dallas would prefer to keep him than to trade him. They want to work this out. They're all in on Brian Schottenheimer, Dak Prescott, and George Pickens all together, but they're going to have to pay up. That number probably needs to have a 3 in front of it on the per-year average.
Jeremy, what about Max Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders?
That it would require a massive haul for the Raiders to truly entertain this. But here's the issue. The teams I've talked to around the league believe that the Raiders can get a lot for Max Crosby, but can they get a Micah Parsons type deal? That's 2 first-round picks and a player. He's 2 years older. It's kind of a question whether they can get that. So the Raiders are trying to sort out what the value is. They are comfortable keeping Max Crosby, who is very close with owner Mark Davis.
Very interesting. One of the names that keeps coming up this offseason is Kyler Murray. Mike LaFleur says they're non-committal yet. We're going to see. We're going to play it all out. What could Kyler Murray actually get in a trade market if he was to put on the block?
Yeah, Peter, he could get a hug, maybe a handshake, a Starbucks gift card. I'm not diminishing the player. It's about the contract and the money. He's got nearly $40 million in guaranteed money. Teams are just not going to want to take that on. They're going to wait for Arizona to release him unless they can work something out next week at the scouting combine in Indianapolis. But right now, the expectation is Murray could be available via release as a true free agent.
Okay, let's start with Kyler Murray. Sorry, I'm getting choked up here. I'm having an attack out here when we talk about Kyler. Let's stay with Kyler, though. Damian Woody, Kyler Murray, your take on him as far as a quarterback in the NFL right now?
Ultra talented guy. The talent cannot be denied. He was the number 1 overall player for a reason. Like, we all know that he's talented. My question as it relates to Kyler Murray is this dude all the way in? Like, we've heard noise about, this dude hasn't been the best teammate. Does he, his lack of studying, all those type of games, the video games, all those type of things. You're talking about CEO of a franchise, the quarterback. So if I'm going to invest assets, money, I need to make sure that my guy's going to be all the way in, and I don't know if I'm getting that with Kyler Murray.
Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a prove-it situation for Kyler Murray, which is why he's most likely to get released rather than traded. And when he gets released, and he clears waivers, he'll end up being a free agent, much like Malik Willis. And I think that, to Damian's point, from a talent perspective, there'll be people that think Kyler Murray's more physically talented, but from a everything else perspective, when you think of age and other intangibles, I think Malik Willis would be the preferred free agent that's on the market at the time. So I think the most likely scenario, is that Kyler Murray, does find himself in a situation where he probably, can be a guy that has a chance to be a starter somewhere. But I don't know that there's going to be more than one, if there is one, where it's like, yep, this guy will be our starter for the upcoming season. I think that's just where we are with Kyler Murray.
I got emotional because I'm thinking about that Kyler Murray, the player, number 1 prospect, okay, Heisman guy, and then took this team to the playoffs. It's not like he hasn't done anything in his career, and we're talking about him in a certain way. Malik Willis, unproven, but showed really some signs against Baltimore in that Saturday night game. When you're looking just, if they were both pure free agents, would you rather have Malik Willis or Kyler Murray, who's got a far more decorated resume?
Just pure free agent, I would probably go Malik Willis. I really would, and I know that's taking a leap of faith, but I'll take a leap of faith on the intangibles. The guy that I see has basically grinded. Remember, this is a guy that was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. They didn't want him. He gets traded to Green Bay, and look what the work the Green Bay Packers have done with Malik Willis. And so I think teams will evaluate not just the player, but the intangibles that come with the player. And so for me, I'll take Malik Willis over Kyler Murray.
Interesting. The NFL offseason is just getting started. Combine is next week. But coming up, how about some guys segment we call the Schrager 5? You get that old music. You think of TJ and Berman. We get to a list. I'm going through my list of the top 5 most intriguing coordinator hires this offseason. Number 5, starting things off with Brian Fleury as the new Seahawks offensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak takes the job in Vegas, takes with him Andrew Janocko, the quarterback coach. Brian Fleury, the tight ends coach from the San Francisco 49ers, stays in the division and goes up to Seattle. Very interesting hire if he can keep it going. Number 4, the Lions offensive coordinator job. It went to this guy, Drew Petzing, who was with the Cardinals last year. That's who the Lions chose to be the man in charge of Jared Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. A very curious hire. Drew Petzing will take over in Detroit. Number 3, Giants. They hire John Harbaugh to great fanfare. We think Todd Monken is coming with him. When Monken gets the job in Cleveland, it opens the door for Matt Nagy, who has never worked with John Harbaugh before, but Nagy, who has got some Super Bowl experience, leaving Kansas City to join the Giants, and Jackson Dart in New York. Number 2, this one I thought was maybe the wildest of all. Sean Mannion, quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers, 32 years old, has never called a play in his life at any level, will be the new Eagles offensive coordinator, and he takes over for a team that will not have Jeff Stoutland, the legendary offensive line coach, on staff anymore. And number 1, we go to Baltimore, where Declan Doyle, who right now is 29 years old, is taking over as the new Ravens offensive coordinator. Lamar Jackson, of course, has MVPs and All-Pros, but he doesn't have that postseason success. Can Declan Doyle, 29 years old, who was with Denver and then Chicago, be the guy to get him over the hump? All eyes on Baltimore. Declan Doyle's number 1. He had his welcoming press conference yesterday, and they asked him what the expectations were for off-season workouts. Take a listen.
We would expect him to be here, and certainly it is voluntary. And so, but it's also, you know, if you want to say that you're going to win a championship, you want to say that you have championship standards and those are your goals and your expectations, certainly that's going to take work, that's going to take collaboration, that's going to take the beginning of building the relationship with their coaches, other players, you know, starting off this next regime on the right foot.
So in so many words, there it is. You're hearing about him. And 29 years old, new brass in town. Lamar has not been in voluntary workouts in recent years. Damien Woody, your response to Declan Doyle saying, yeah, we'd expect you to partake in voluntary workouts.
Well, here's what I would say. Like, Lamar Jackson clearly won the power struggle this offseason with John Harbaugh getting fired and moved on. This is Lamar Jackson's team. This is your legacy. This is your show now. No, there's no other fingers that's going to be pointed at anywhere else but Lamar Jackson. So now you go out, you bring in Jesse Mentor. You bring out the 29-year-old new offensive coordinator, who, by the way, I don't think has called plays before in the NFL. And so you're installing this whole thing. You're the CEO of this whole deal. If you don't show up to the offseason program, to OTAs and all those type of things, what is the message that you're sending to everyone right now? Because I'm sorry, people talk, people laugh at the OTAs and the offseason program. It matters. If you want to build towards a championship, championships are built in the offseason. Offseason program, OTAs, the times that you spend with your teammates. That's how you build championships. And that's the one thing we constantly hammer Lamar on. You've gotten the 2 MVPs, but you haven't been to a Super Bowl. You haven't won a championship. It starts now.
Tim Hasselbeck, we bring you in here. I ask your thoughts on the situation are we being too old school on this where, hey, it's OTAs, new coach, new offensive coordinator, be there, Lamar?
Right. You know what's funny is I've thought about that a little bit, Peter, like in terms of like the old school mentality. The era that Damien and I, played in, and I think the expectations for guys, I think was slightly different back then. That being said, I think even back then there was always a feeling of, guys that had been in the league for over a decade, guys that had accomplished a ton in terms of postseason success, guys that had developed a reputation as being, team-oriented first. I think there was always an environment where guys would accept those guys not being around in the offseason. Look, Damien played with Brady. If Brady at some point wanted, some time in the offseason, I think there was an expectation that would be okay. I remember my time in New York, Strahan didn't want to come in until after training camp, but he was in year 12 or 15. Like, those things were acceptable. But I think in that environment and in today's environment, until you've played for a decade, until you've achieved the postseason success, if you don't show up in the offseason for some of these environments, especially when there's a new coaching staff, then I think the perception is you're about yourself and you're not about the team. So, look, that's not old school, new school. That's just, I think, the reality of the environment. And that's why Steve Bisciotti talked about, look, if you want to be a part of the hiring process, then get your butt to Baltimore. And I think what Declan Doyle is saying at 29 years old, you want to be a champion, like you want to do that, then get your butt to Baltimore even in April.
Jeremy, what's your read on this Ravens situation?
Yeah.
Obviously, things ran its course with Harbaugh and Monken. They're moving on, but two young guys, and yet we're wondering if Lamar's going to even be there.
Yeah, because let's be real about it. Forget OTAs. They had a hard enough time getting Lamar Jackson to practice on a Wednesday of game week, which is just a little weird for a franchise elite quarterback. Some of that was a durability concern, him trying to get himself to Sundays, but availability's been an issue. He's had 3 of his last 5 years. He's missed at least 4 games. So big picture, this is kind of a reset for everybody, and they are trying to set a tone here very clearly because this is a team that's trying to get a contract done with Lamar Jackson. Steve Bisciotti, the owner, has said he wants a deal done before free agency, the start of the new league year. That's in a couple weeks. Lamar Jackson is his own agent. So there's going to be some clarity here in the next few weeks as to what his future looks like with the team and how that impacts things like his availability and his OTAs.
Oh, there's so much to talk about. Combine is next week, but we're just getting started with the NFL offseason. We're just getting started with this show. NBA, how can the Lakers